the News Channel 5 network, this is MorningLine with Nick Beres.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. Nick Beres with you today on just another chilly Tuesday morning. So don't head out. Just sit back, relax, watch the show, and if you'd like, join in the conversation. We'll get the phone number up in a moment here, and we'll take your phone calls. We're going to talk, as we usually do, at least once a month, on about elder care law. You know, things like estate planning, dealing with loved ones maybe in the process of making the transition from their home to a nursing care facility, assisted living, all kinds of stuff. We can talk about reverse mortgages. We can talk about wills. You know, as a follower of this show, all the topics we talk about, but you can have a different face this morning. Now, don't worry, Barbara McGinnis and, of course, my very good friend Tim Takacs are still around, but they're very busy, and they have an expanding practice with a great team of lawyers. And with us this morning, they've sent a newbie. I asked him how long he's been with it. Chris Johnson, good morning to you.
Good morning, Nick.
You're a friend of Tim's?
I am.
You're a friend of mine. That's all there is to it. And we were talking before the show, and I truly believe this. Your boss, colleague, whatever you want to call him, has been doing this show for several years now. But the truth is, and you know this probably because you went to work for him, that he was one of the trailblazers years ago thinking ahead to elder law as a specific focus of a legal practice, correct?
Absolutely.
What do you think he saw? He just recognized the fact that, hey, these baby boomers are going to age and we're going to have a lot of need for this kind of stuff?
He did, and it was, I think, even more personal than that. He had someone come in and they had their parents were starting to deal with a chronic long-term illness and they didn't know what to do. And they went to Tim, and Tim tells this story, and I always love it when he's sharing it with a client or someone else. But that first client came in and said, I don't know what to do about this. And Tim said, you know what? I don't either, but we're going to find out together.
That's classic.
Isn't that classic?
Now, it's funny. He hasn't told me that. I should have asked him how he first got into it. We talked about why he did, but not that it started. So he was doing general practice.
Correct.
General legal practice, like a lot of people. They get their degree, they put their shingle out, they handle all different types of civil law, I suppose. And that came about. And kind of a light bulb went up on his head and said, I'll find out. And then he recognized this is going to be a growth field.
How many people are going to have that very same questions that first client had? And he looked at it and he said, wow, people don't understand this, and it's getting more and more Byzantine, trying to navigate all the public benefits, trying to navigate all the facilities and healthcare organizations out there. It is difficult, and you need an advanced degree just to even get started. It gets tough, and for the average person, I think it's overwhelming. I think, they have to focus on their own lives. They have children, they have their jobs, and now they have to learn this whole new system. I think it just can be very overwhelming.
Okay, and you told me you've been with him now 4 or 5 months.
Correct.
You're a lawyer yourself. So for you, well, now I don't know, how long ago did you graduate from law school, and what was it that made you decide, yeah, this is a field I want to go into?
So I graduated law school 12 years ago now. I graduated from the College of William and Mary. I was in the Marine Corps at the time, so I went in as, became a judge advocate in the Marine Corps and finished out my time there. I loved it. I retired from there. I took a little time off. My son was 6 at the time, and it was exciting to get home and spend a little time with him. And then having been in the service and feeling like, hey, I'm helping people, I was looking for that next field where I could get that same feeling like I'm making a difference in someone else's lives. And when you get exposed to the elder care law field, you see, wow, we really make a difference, and it really feels good for when those clients, when the actual clients tell us, yes, we're happy with the care and we're feeling taken care of. The questions that we had that were scaring us, how are we going to pay for these things? Will I be taken care of? Are answered. Taking away that uncertainty makes a huge difference. And then for the children, who a lot of them bear the burden of this on their shoulders, trying to figure it out for mom and dad, you can see in their faces, it's a very feel good field. And
you have no idea, and I understand a lot of people don't want to deal with this until they have to deal with it. But having gone through it myself, and with some of the help Tim and Barbara have provided me over the years, just learning, even just sitting here on the show, what stresses you out is just what you said. The complexity of it and not understanding where to start, and whether you're doing it for your parents or for yourself, it's like, what the heck do I do? And it's amazing when you get someone who can put it so clearly into place like you guys do, it just takes the stress off.
It does. It's the uncertainty. I mean, we've maybe heard the phrase paralysis by analysis.
Right.
There's so many different decisions to make, and decisions in areas that you might not feel you have the competent expertise, and it gets frightening. It gets downright frightening. And then what you don't want to do is you don't want to make a mistake. And because you don't want to make a mistake, you don't want to act. And a lot of these things, you need to act. You need to move things forward. You need to make sure mom and dad are cared for. That's the most important thing.
All right, so I'm wondering, I always like to lay this out to help folks with questions. If you're interested, you're free to call in and ask. The types of things, let's just remind folks, and I kind of hit on some of them, you know, power of attorney, wills, things like this. What would you say is the meat and potatoes of what you help people with? Just give people an idea if they want to call and ask a question of your practice. And I know there's a broad range, but the meat and potatoes.
So the meat and potatoes of our firm is life care planning, and that's something I think relatively different that most firms in this area don't follow that path, and that is we put the care of the client first. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build an estate plan that ensures that they're cared for, ensures that uncertainty about where I'm going to live, how I'm going to pay for it is taken care of. And then baked into the cake, and that's done through the standard things that you've been mentioning before. We make sure the wills are in place, we make sure there are appropriate trusts in place, we make sure the power of attorneys, both durable, general, and healthcare power of attorney, which are very important for decision making down the road if something were to happen to mom and dad. But it's all care centered, and so we have 2 social workers on staff, Deborah and Patty. They're absolutely amazing, and they're there. They're kind of, I refer to them as like the navigators. They're there with the light, and they're kind of showing the family a little bit of how to navigate in these different facilities. Do we need assisted living? Can we get in-home caregivers? Is it time to look at memory care? The transition, the big question of can we still live at home, or is it time for us to move facility? That is a tough and difficult question to answer sometimes, and sometimes it's hard to realize I can't stay at home anymore. It's not an easy conversation.
Well, that's the problem, and aside from the legal part of it that you guys deal with, it's the psychology of it, and that's something I really learned from Tim is, you know, a lot of times they should no longer live at home, but they're not ready to do it themselves. And then how the loved ones broach that with them, and how you get to the point where you can get a parent that really needs to go to assisted living or a nursing home and willingly go. And sometimes, you know, I know there have been cases where you have to drag them yelling and screaming, which is the worst case scenario. But I mean, knowing how to do that and how to handle someone at that point, there's a psychology to it. It's not just let's go, mom and dad, and they say no, then what do you do? Well,
and that's exactly it. And you never want to drag anyone kicking and screaming.
No,
what you're looking to do is you want them to feel like this is their decision, and that their input is being respected, and that their needs are being attended to. And usually what we have is we have the elder care continuum, and what they see is we start our lives as once we become adults, we're very independent, and then as we age, we slowly get a little more dependent and a little more dependent. And it's hard after having been independent since you're 18, since 40, 50, 60 years, to be told that you're no longer independent.
No one wants taking the car away, telling him no.
That's right. But at the same token, what we don't want is we don't want life to make that decision for them, because a catastrophic health event, and that can be life, that can be a trip and fall in the house, a slip in the tub, or some other event, a car accident. Those are catastrophic events that bring with them some really tough consequences, maybe a stint in a rehab facility, maybe some financial consequences, and we don't want life to make that decision. We all know life is better with a plan, and so if we can lay out a plan and get them to understand, listen, make this decision, make it in a manner that you're comfortable with, but understand at some point life is going to make the decision for you, and that's not a time you want the decision made.
All right, listen, we'll take a break. As we go to the break, I just want to let folks know we were having some problems with the phone line getting it up and running properly. If you were trying to call in, I think it's up now, and it should work. So you can give us a call if you have questions that you were trying to get through. Apologize for that. But when we come back, I want to get into some other stuff. Just see maybe where you're different from Tim and Barbara. Just say, talk about some of the wills, the questions of that, the importance of power of attorney, which I never really fully understood just how valuable that is until you had it and the time came up when you needed it. And if you don't have it when you need it, you are in a pickle, and that's stuff everyone needs to think about. We'll take a break, talk about that more, and we can take some of your phone calls if this phone line gets up and running right after this. Stay with us.